Okay, so hello. This is 21st of July 2025. So, fake Christians, fake Jews, fake Muslims. I better explain myself. Uh, yes, my point is that they are the ones who govern the world at the moment. Have been governing for quite a while, but we didn't notice. We didn't notice because they to a large extent, respected moral constraints. Not necessarily because they believed or didn't believe in them, but they believed that the plebs outnumber them. This happened throughout history, as you know, every time. You get people in power at the top. That power, as we know, corrupts individual human beings. You have the power, and then you notice that you can do pretty much whatever you want and nothing happens. And so you get more and more corrupted. And then what happens is that you start abusing that power because you can, because you are no longer accountable, or you feel you're no longer accountable. And so you begin this process of, let's say, in general terms, moral degeneracy. You don't care anymore about whether what you're doing is right and wrong because nothing really happens to you straight away. And you start abusing it and you start abusing it more and more. And you do get away with it because you have the power. But there comes a point when the abuse becomes so obvious, evident to the people in general that they actually come and chop off your head or something. Okay, they get their pitchforks, and then that is what you fear. You fear that because you fear the numbers. They always outnumber the few, the powerful. This has happened throughout history. There is nothing new. We know that empires come and rise and stay there, and then they fall, and it's usually because of the same thing. Because eventually, you can see when power has started to become abusive, and that can go on for a while. But eventually, the great numbers of the people whom you are abusing rise up against you throughout the whole of history. Okay, so what is happening now? We are witnessing this abuse of power now evident. Yeah, they for a long time they were at least pretending to have some moral constraints. Um, if not, as I said, because they believed in them, nevertheless, because they knew that the great masses of the people have certain constraints. They know what is right and what is wrong, and they become, you can abuse them for a while, but once they themselves start feeling the abuse in their own bones, and then for a long time they can't do anything about it because it's a question of organization and so, but eventually it happens. Now, let me go point by point here. If you follow what is happening in Israel, for example, you can see that in what is happening there. And what is happening in the West, not to the same scale, of course, but we are seeing the first step in our relationship in the West with our governments. We are seeing, uh, first of all, the censorship, yeah, that we are experiencing. Now, this is kind of new. Yes, it has become evident, certainly since 2020. What happened there, there is a before and an after. I am not suggesting that it was pre-planned, to keep us all at home and so on. I think they were reacting to the circumstances. They thought that they couldn't possibly get away with it, but they did get away with it once they imposed it. And so that changed things. And what we are seeing now in censorship, in you know, if people come out and demonstrate against something, that you can actually charge them and jail them or whatever. That happened before too, but you needed a reason. You needed a riot. You needed people starting to throw things at the police or whatever. They needed a reason in order to arrest you. Um, they don't seem to need that anymore. The mere fact that you are perhaps demonstrating is enough. There has been a before and an after in our relationship in the West with our governments. Okay, so let me come back to Israel and what happened there. Do you remember in 2020? Okay, when that happened and the injection and so on. I understand that the first time people just thought that they were doing it for the best of the community. Then there was a time when they said, well, you remember that at first, at first there was almost a kind of a competition um, amongst countries. I remember that New Zealand was the first one. You remember 98% of the people got it, and it was publicized, something like that. I don't remember the numbers exactly. And then you remember the expression, the rollout of the vaccine. And here I remember Boris Johnson saying, we are the fastest, Great Britain, the fastest. I think it was in Europe. Yeah. So it was a 94% people had taken it and so on. So Great Britain was there at the top and so on. Okay. Okay. So then there was what happened was that we needed a second one, right? You remember? So less people took it because people started, oh, do we need a second one? Oh, yes, yes, we need a second one because they gave the reasons. Okay, okay, fine. Less people, but still people obeyed. But then there was a third one, and then a fourth one, and less people were going along with it. What I noticed at the time was that then the state of Israel became number one because everybody was having the boosters. Okay, the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and even a fifth, and everyone was there. I don't remember whether it was compulsory or not, but it was the country where most people, practically all of them, were taking, all these follow-ons, the boosters. And I remember at the time thinking, I understand the first, I could even understand the second, but the fifth, it just seemed to me too much. And I thought, are these people sort of brainwashed or what? I began to, oh my goodness, what is happening here? Are the people of this country being brainwashed? Is there some psychological MK Ultra Plus? Because I just couldn't understand it, how they would continue on. And now I don't suppose they are continuing it. They have more things on their plate. But I saw a few things, what is happening now, that is this a psychotic population? This is the question that I am asking. In one of the last videos, I talked about how the people come for food, and they have these points there where people come for food, and now it's being administered by the government of Israel with the Americans there, and people are coming to get some food, and they are shooting them as they come to get the food. Well, that went even further now, and apparently there are videos that people are just shooting indiscriminately. This is going beyond reason, going beyond anything. Look, I'm going to show you. Bear with me. I'm going to show you a very short video from. I saw it in George Galloway's program yesterday on Sunday. Bear with me because I am on Zoom, and you know what I have to do. I have to go through share and all that. Okay, so here it is. And it is on 440. Okay, here. Okay.
London that encouraged you to do this. You are entirely beholden to the Israeli embassy in London, representing a man in Tel Aviv, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's just gone sick with food poisoning. Pray for the bacteria, won't you? The Israeli government is now responsible, televised, Hollywood style, in Technicolor, if that's still a thing, to everybody in the whole world. An actual Holocaust. We've all seen it. We are all watching it, although it's getting worse and worse. We have become, I'm sorry to say, familiar with the slaughter of the innocent children. But today I saw an old man literally die on camera as he got to the front of the queue of the feeding station without being murdered, whilst he stood in the queue like 50 or more others. Today and virtually every day, he expired on camera from starvation in 2025. Millions of people have watched a tweet that I put out, 3.5 million and counting, of a woman whom my director said to me, the old woman, no, she's not an old woman. She's a young woman, but she looks like a woman in Auschwitz or Birkenau or Belsen. She looks like what we used to call a Belsen horror. She's so starved, emaciated, that this video is 5 days old. She's probably dead now too.
Okay. So people are coming for food and they die. That is all right. I have also seen many videos of many Jewish people who are saying this is not in our name, not on our behalf. I talked about this before. I have also seen videos of rabbis, I have them in my, saying this is not our religion. The people there are not following the Jewish religion, and they point to the fact that the Zionists, who are for the most part atheists and so on, they are rabbis defending their religion and saying that this absolutely goes against it. We know that for the most part, the people inhabiting Israel at the moment, most of them are from Eastern Europe. They are not Jewish by race, for example, okay? They come from Eastern Europe, and the descendants of, it used to be a sort of a Turkish or Turco, Mongolian people going all the way to Ukraine and so on. Okay, they're not Jewish by race, but they're being charged by Orthodox Jewish rabbis as having almost taken over the religion, or at least hiding under the cloak of Judaism to do what they're doing, and pretending, as they say, to be Jewish, to be following the Jewish religion. When in fact, I mean, they're behaving as they have more in common with Attila the Hun than with Solomon. So the first charge is that these people are using the Jewish religion, but they're not following it. That is why I say fake or atheists or non-believers using the Jewish religion to commit acts that the Jewish religion does not allow. Okay, let's go to the Christians. I have talked about this at length, and I always say the same thing, that they give themselves the name Christian, just like they change, you know, the Gulf of America, okay? But they're not Christian. They are not following the Christian religion. They are following, they call themselves Christians. At best, they are Protestants, yeah, but they seem to be the Protestants of the Protestants of the Protestants, you know, because what they believe, most of them from these weird interpretations, the Scofield Bible and all that kind of thing, they can believe whatever they want, but they have no right to have taken the name Christian and attach it to them, because their beliefs, for example, if they put the Old Testament, to which they continuously refer, above the New Testament, that means that they don't understand Christianity. So I am, again, I have talked about this at length, so I'm not going to repeat it. But I object to this, how are they called? The Christian Zionists. No, they're not Christian. Please find yourselves another name, but you're not Christian. Okay, so call them Protestants or call them, I believe that they are both a heresy of Christianity and a heresy of Judaism, because they seem to follow the Old Testament, but then they say they believe in Jesus. That doesn't, that you can't have both. Okay, as if Jesus had never come. All right, so that is my problem with fake Christians. And I think the Pope should actually, the Pope and the Patriarch of the Greek and the Russian churches, the original Christian church, should come together instead of wasting time in this synod, the synods and all this synodality and all this nonsense that doesn't take anywhere. They just go round and round and round. Instead of doing that, for the Orthodox and the Catholic Church to come together in a council, or call it synod. The Orthodox call it synod. We used to call it council when it was about doctrine. Yeah. So the Vatican Council, the Second Vatican Council, was not a council as such. It was perhaps a synod. It was not doctrinal. It was about something else, whatever it was, destroying it. But I don't want to get into that. But my point here is that the Catholic and the Orthodox Church should come together and start again defining what heresy is and issuing anathemas, because this is doing tremendous damage to Christianity, because people get confused. They think it's the same thing. All these new interpretations, and all you have to do, you open up in America, you open up a Christian church as if you were opening a business, each according to their own interpretation. The Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church have to come together and define what Christianity is once again, and issue anathemas. No, that is not Christian. We need it badly. So much for fake Christians. Now, I said fake Muslims too. I know little about this, about Islam, but I know that there are two factions. Yes, the Shias and the Sunnis. Okay, and it seems that I don't think I'm wrong in this. It seems as if those who are in the Shia, am I pronouncing it correctly? Forgive me if I'm not. Is ignorance in my part. I'm trying my best. But those in power in Shia countries, those in power seem to believe in their religion. Iran, for example, the leaders there seem to believe in Islam. Okay? The Sunni leaders in countries with, I'm not talking about the people here, I'm talking about the leaders of the countries, don't seem to care so much. At least it doesn't appear to me that they care too much about following their religion. They seem to have other concerns and other interests, and they seem to be putting their political interests above Islam. I'm thinking of the Saudis and Qatar and the United Arab, and yes, the Emirates and Jordan and Egypt. Is Egypt Sunni too, or is it Shia? I'm not sure. But these countries seem to follow political interests more than religion. So they are the equivalent of the Protestants to the Catholics, or the Zionists to the Jewish people. That's why I say fake. Now, the divide might be. I'm just, now, here's my conclusion. The divide might very well be, if you think about it, between those countries who believe in God, and hence they have moral constraints, those who don't, even though they say we are this, we are that, we are the other, that actually they don't believe or pretend, they might pretend they do, but they actually do not follow moral constraints. Now, you're going to say, you don't need a religion to have moral constraints. You can have ethical constraints, to be sure. I know that, I'm aware of it. We can go to pre-Christ pagan world, the Roman pagan world. Okay? They may or may not have believed in God. They could be religious in some sort of way or totally secular in, some sort of way. But they nevertheless had ethical constraints. Yes, the people nevertheless knew what was right and what was wrong. They did know that. And why did they know that? I come back to things I have said many times. Because of natural law. That natural law that makes us different religions actually agree on certain ethical constraints. Yeah, the natural law. But here is the difference, that those who believe in God believe that that natural law is there because of divine law, because God, who created us in his image, made us in his own image. Okay, so you have the divine law imprinted, carved in our souls, and that is how natural law is understood. If you don't believe in God, yes, you believe in natural law because it's there, and so you can have ethical constraints. The difference, however, is that you may follow those ethical constraints or not. Or not. And if you don't, nothing happens to you, to your soul, or to nothing happens because there is no God above it. Okay, so you have taken the meaning out of natural law. Yeah, if you follow, fine, and if you don't follow, that's fine too. All right, so to end up this video, what I say is that the vision in the world right now is actually, if you take it far enough and you come not from political interests, but from elevate political interests to philosophical and then theological understanding, the division in the world at the moment is actually between those who believe in God or have a transcendent understanding. I'm thinking about Hinduism, for example. Even Confucianism, actually, to a certain extent. Those, I would say, who believe in God and those who don't or don't give a damn. Thank you.